Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Joining us today is Chris Vermeulen, Chief Market Strategist at thetechnicaltraders.com. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ivan. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's always great having you on to talk about the markets and what's developing. We spoke about 3-4 weeks ago, and we were talking about everything that was happening in the market. And now Jerome Powell has raised rates again. Last week, the interest rate has been raised by 0.25 basis points. What's Powell's master plan? Is he bankrupting the middle class and saving the dollar? What is he doing?
I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I don't follow the fundamentals and the rates too closely, but
Right.
obviously, as rates go up, it puts some headwinds in for the stock markets. Because if people are going to start earning 5+% with zero risk or low risk anyway, it pulls money from the markets. A lot of people
Right.
who want to protect their capital are going to say, you know what, 5%, a safe 5% interest is pretty good, given the volatility we've had over the past year and a half, right? So rising rates, tough for the stock market. It starts to take some of the stock market's money, and if it could trigger a bigger sell-off in the stock market. We're seeing that across the board with growth in tech stocks. They're down the
Mhm.
most over the past couple of weeks, and we're seeing some fear hit the market, and we're seeing big volume to the sell side in the tech space. And I think, just to touch on that real quickly, as rates go up, I mean, tech companies and utilities companies, they also have big debt,
Right.
big balance books, and higher rates mean it's going to cost them more to hold all that money. So we're definitely seeing money move out of those two sectors, I think, because of the rising rates.
Absolutely. You're starting to look at the market now, and there's some red flags starting to pop up. What's really, really concerning you in the economy as we move towards 2024? Chris, is it regional banks, commercial real estate? What is really concerning you?
Yeah, I think real estate and banks are going to have is going to be a big problem. I think, but I think there's a big delay for those to take place, because I feel like there's kind of a sequence things are going to happen. The stock market's going to start to top and start to go down. We're going to start to see unemployment start to rise, more layoffs. There's quite a few layoffs already this year, and then of course when mortgages come up for renewal, people don't have a job, their household income's not as much, they might not get approved, and then people can't keep up with paying their mortgages, and then the
Right.
banks don't get the money from that, and it's kind of this downward spiral. The banks eventually will get hit pretty hard near the end of a financial crisis, which makes sense because they're the ones who hold all the money, or all the debt, and if people aren't going to service those debts, they're going to struggle. So I think commercial real estate is going to be a big problem. I think companies are trying to get people back to work, like get back into the office. We own a
Yeah.
flat, downtown New York. We better fill that office.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think there's going to eventually be, maybe it's still a couple of years out, but there could be a point where we see towns and cities give approval to maybe turn some of those office spaces downtown into potential, like a residential. Like there could add a few floors, because people just don't want to go back to work in the same regard that they used to. They like working
Right.
from home. And instead of having vacant buildings going bankrupt in a high expensive spots, why don't they turn them into some really nice suites right downtown in the business core for, wealthy business people?
Absolutely. That's what I've been hearing around lately. And what's your outlook for precious metals right now? We spoke a little about it about 2-3 weeks ago, but I'd like to see if you have any new outlooks, or what are you seeing on the charts, or yeah, what are you exactly seeing? Because you guys are the technical traders, so we need to know.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, let's take a quick look at the charts here. You should be able to see
Yeah.
my screen. This is the daily chart of gold. Really long story short, we'll zoom out to a big view here with the monthly chart.
Hmm.
And this brings us back to uh, the 2011, 2012 market peak here, this topping phase.
Right.
We have kind of a triple top still holding on in place for the price of gold. Uh, you know, Last time we had a big correction in the stock market was 2008, 2009. We
Hmm.
saw gold get hit about 34% to the downside. I feel like we have this perfect storm set up again in terms of the precious metals space, meaning back over here in the early 2000s is when we had the dollar put in a major top, commodities put in a bottom for a multi-year super cycle to the upside that topped out in 2011 for gold. Well, I feel like we've got a very similar setup, and gold is kind of struggling. And I think gold could still have that pullback My analysis hasn't changed. If it can't bust through this upper level and extend to the upside, we're probably coming back down 1800, 1600 range very easily during a big pullback, a financial correction in
Right.
stocks, bonds, real estate, all that stuff, just because we see forced liquidation. People get scared. It doesn't matter what they own. They eventually just pull the plug on all their investments, and it'll pull gold, silver, and miners down with it. But I think it'll be a great opportunity. It'll be something similar to 2008.
Right.
And then I think we get this huge explosive move in precious metals. Hopefully we'll start, 2024, I'm thinking. We'll have to just see how that unfolds. But when you look at this big picture here, if we were to actually flip to the US dollar index for the same time frame, this here is where commodities put in a major bottom and they started a major super cycle. Gold rallied because the dollar fell out of favor. But what happened is the dollar rallied up when there's a lot of fear in the market. People pile into the US dollar. It
Yeah,
becomes
absolutely.
a defensive play. We saw that here in 2008. The dollar put in a huge rally, gold sold off. We've already kind of put in a bit of a rally here, but overall, I do think we're going to see gold go back, or sorry, the dollar go back up to these highs, which means gold's going to have one more big pullback.
Yeah.
And then from there, I think we're going to see, if we just zoom out on this chart a little bit, we're going to see the dollar eventually fizzle out for multiple years to the downside. And that is going to create something like the early 2000s, where it creates that super cycle for gold to take off and precious metals in general. So there's a big play here. I think it's going to be life-changing. You want to be involved in the precious metals space, especially some miners, when this super cycle takes place. But I got a feeling it's going to be 2024, which is probably a lot further out than most people want. But this is a monthly chart. It takes a lot of time for one bar to happen, and we're still a lot of bars away from the dollar topping and from gold bottoming. So that's kind of my take, the technical take on the gold charts here.
And what do you see on the silver side? You spoke a lot now on the gold side. We are Wall Street Silver, so we'd love to hear your opinions on silver.
So silver I see as being very, very similar type of play. It's nowhere near, like, gold is equivalent to trading up near its 2011 highs. Right. Silver is definitely, underperforming. So are gold miners. I think that has to do with they're more of a speculative play. And they're just not taking stride and leading the way higher yet. I do think there will be a time where we see silver rocket back up to 48. It'll probably go way beyond that in due time. But again, I think we're going to see it pull back potentially down to the $16 range. It'd be very easy for silver to pull to 1,600 or $16 before we see the next major super cycle going forward. And silver, as you know, has got huge opportunity. When it starts one of these rocket ship these moves, I mean, it's huge opportunity. Yeah. So again, we just have to let these markets work themselves out. This is a multi-year base. It's going to take time. But if you didn't catch the 2000 run up into 2009, or you didn't catch the 2009 to 2011 precious metals rally, well, if you did, then you're going to be drooling for this next one, because they're life-changing returns. Yeah. Some of these stocks go up thousands of percent in a year. So there's some pretty good opportunity, but you don't want to jump the gun, because your money can be, at a huge loss, and they can keep going down for a while before, the next big rally, I think, starts.
Yeah, absolutely. And what other than silver and gold, are you looking at any other precious metals that you're keeping an eye on? Like, do you look at platinum, rhodium, or palladium, or no, you just look at silver and gold?
Not so much. I mean, we can look at the palladium ETF. You can see it has fallen out of favor. This mimics the price of palladium. It has gone, almost, it's peaked out at around 300. Now it's down at 114. So it's been under a lot of pressure. If we look at platinum, it's just been basing for a long time. I mean, platinum used to be the metal. I remember, back when I was buying like a wedding ring for my wife, like 18 years ago. I wanted to get platinum. It was like, it was worth more than gold, but now it's like, now it's not worth, mind you, this is an ETF. Platinum is not worth $82 an ounce.
Yeah, of course.
Price action, but platinum is a lot less than gold, and just hasn't held its value. But there's an interesting play here. There's actually an ETF called GLTR, and this is a basket. I think it's gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. So it allows you to get a basket of all four of them. And when you look at it, it's got a beautiful major multi-year, you could argue here this is a cup and handle pattern. You
Right.
got the top of this cup here. Cup and handle patterns are one of the strongest patterns. You can see them rally 2, 3, 400% the depth of the cup. So,
Wow.
there's a lot of potential upside if you were to stack this bar, on top of the breakout and squish it down. There's a lot of potential
Wow.
for all these four precious metals that if they get traction, the dollar collapses at some point, we're going to see the basket of precious metals rocket higher. And what's nice about this is you don't need to just pick one metal or the other. You can get all four of them. I think it's more heavy weighted towards gold, and the other metals are smaller positions. But it is a pretty nice looking chart and a way to get into the precious metal space without having to, buy multiple positions if you wanted something like that.
Absolutely. And Chris, the news came out a few weeks ago after months of debate about various currency and commodity baskets. China and Russia, they have settled on gold as the basis of a new international led system. How hard are they pushing to either destabilize the US dollar or just move away and create their own BRICS nations? Will it be successful with gold? What do you think?
I have no idea. I
No,
mean, I
hey?
don't really follow it too much, but I mean, if there's going to be a gold backed currency, I would think gold's going to, that'll to me would be a huge driver for
Right.
people to want to accumulate gold, because it's already hard enough to go buy a stupid bar from the store. I mean, the markup is huge. They're hard to get. So as soon as it becomes a currency, everybody goes into greed mode. Well, if everybody's going to want it, I want it. Right.
Right,
So
right.
that's going to drive the price up. I think it's a very bullish story for precious metals, or for more so for gold. Maybe that's even why the reason why gold is the only one that's trading way up at the highs is because some people know it's coming, or the insiders, and they've been just accumulating it. I'm not
Yeah,
sure, but
absolutely.
price always has a way of, for some reason, knowing something's coming before we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been such a huge pleasure, Chris, for you coming down to Wall Street Silver and speaking about the markets. And hopefully, as the markets develop, we would love to have you back.
Sounds great. Always a pleasure, Ivan.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.